in the mule. Somebody's a fool. 20 brothers with Bugattis could've went and bought a school. Yeah, we like jewels, diamond reefers and booze. Got cash, so my boo, she could buy some new boobs. Life is a heifer, I ought to travel to Mecca in a Tesla that could fly while I visit my ancestors. Something I could buy that could help out the shy, stop the gunshot. I would sell my soul to the sky, ride to the heaven with Teddy Riley and God. Jam in the chariot, pain I had to carry it. You ain't free yet, but you're still wearing your Lazarus. Cash for you to burn, but I swear to you, it's hazardous. All you do is...
Peace and blessings, y'all. It's hump day. It is Wednesday, y'all. Yeah, February 26th. And Michelle and I just want to say thanks, excuse me, to everyone that's listening. You know what I mean? Shout out our family, friends, acquaintances. You know what I mean? We appreciate y'all for listening. And like we said earlier, we hope you listen with an open mind. You know what I mean? And just keep in mind that our opinions, our thoughts, and all that stuff, the facts that we provide is based on our lives. You know what I'm saying? Our truths and what we've seen and been through. You know what I mean? So just always keep that in mind when you're listening to our content. All right, y'all. Let's get back to this episode. And we'll check back in with y'all later. I just feel like I want to keep talking, but we'll get to this episode. All right, y'all. This is the Cold World Podcast with DVJ and Michelle.
I wait your turn. Ain't worried about the little shit. Feel the clips, niggas really know how to hood it get. The jealousy of niggas, snitches wanna point the finger. Handle that before you know it, nigga. It's the Grim Reaper. Breathe it down your neck with the dragon fire. My niggas hunger for the most. It's the appetizer. I'm on the clowns like a magnifier. And you laying in the box, the only thing that can satisfy us. Around your neck, I'll probably wrap a wire. Drop the body in the woods, looking like you got hit by a tractor tire. My peoples be the ones y'all worry about. When we in the building, niggas try to hurry up, scurry out. Meet you at the door, the 4-4. Your man didn't like me, now he gon' die for the wrong cause. Heard the shot and the long pause. By the time the paramedics came through, he was long gone. Cause this the shit the niggas pay for. I got a rally nigga, anything you hear, nigga, breathe on. This the shit the niggas pay for. It's about the principles, my nigga. This the shit the niggas bleed for. The shit the niggas dream for.
Death investigation is underway in a Franklin neighborhood after first responders found 2 people shot and killed inside of a home. Now, this happened just before 6 o'clock last night at a home near Drake Lane and Mission Hills Drive in Franklin. Police say a 66-year-old woman and a 65-year-old man were found dead inside from apparent gunshot wounds. Police have not identified the victims.
That's white-on-white crime out there in Franklin. When that story comes out, like what I'm saying, when everything gets all the details get situated, that's to be white-on-white crime. That's what I'm saying. A lot of times there'll be a lot of DV going on in these suburban homes and these rural homes and stuff. But a lot of times, like I was saying that a few days ago on the podcast, a lot of times those don't even get documented. They don't get called in or whatever. Or if there is a call for service, you know what I mean? Mom and dad are arguing. Dad's throwing mom around or whatever. Police come over there. A lot of times, people don't go to jail. Or I bet there's even instances, and I bet I could probably find that too, more than a few cases. For an example, of situations where cops got called to a house for a domestic violence situation or whatever, and that they ended up knowing the people. They ended up knowing, you know, the man and the woman or whatever, maybe acquaintances, maybe they're a cop, maybe they're a cop friend of his friends. You know what I mean? A lot of times there'll be some kind of connection, especially if it's a smaller town, like in the suburbs, where they only maybe have, 60, 70,000 people, 20,000 people in these towns. Like, a lot of them will be knowing each other. You know what I mean? Or there'll be some kind of connection like that 6 degrees of separation bullshit or whatever. So sometimes, because I even looked up the Waukesha. This was months ago. I looked up the Waukesha jail, their jail division, and I was looking to see like who was in there for what, right? And they didn't have, because I was trying to see like what the most crimes were committed in that community and all that kind of stuff, and I couldn't find a section for domestic violence. It like literally wasn't even listed. They had all the other crimes, you know, homicide, rape, you know, burglary, forgery, robbery. They had, you know, all those, but not a domestic violence category. I just thought that was off. I'm like, what? So is that because maybe some of their officers get mixed up in that stuff? Maybe they, you know, and they just don't say anything or whatever. And you add on to the fact of that there's a decent amount. I didn't say a lot. I didn't say the majority. Nothing. I said a decent amount of cops that are either alcoholics or borderline alcoholics. Just based off the job, it's stressful. No matter how you feel about cops, it is a stressful ass job. And I know just from just kind of being on the sidelines, my mother was a cop for 25 years, you know what I mean, and here in Milwaukee. So I've kind of been around that world a little bit, so I know how the stress can be. I remember my mom used to work like third shift and all that kind of stuff. She used to work some weird hours. And that's crazy to think, because we were just young kids back then, like when she first started. But now, like if my mom was a cop now and I was like an adult, like, oh man, I'd be stressed out worrying about that. Because just how, yeah, it's crazy out here. All right, y'all, let's get back to this episode.
It's that shit, you know. You gotta love us. If not, then you should fucking hate us. Read that reflection. Who the fuck invited you over? Coming from the city, one shot, no do-overs. Heard it was war, and you left to a blue over. I am not the head that the flew over. Look at you, look at me, look at us. You the type that's booking nigga. I'm the type that's cooking up. I'm a plug, he's a plug, she's a plug, need a plug. Come and find us, nigga, yeah, look us up. It's really no calling with two troopers on the highway, fuck that, call them audible. I was moving work before they made phones portable. Probably want you dead if you a rat when I thought of you. I'm in the cut and I'm smoking herb. I say it around here, then I smoke your word. Yeah, this shit is like poetry. Can't hold on, but you can't let go of me. Cause this the shit the niggas feed for. I got a valid nigga. Anything you hear, nigga, breathe on. This the shit the niggas feed for. It's about the principles, my nigga. This the shit the niggas bleed for. This shit the niggas feed for. Money in the collar. Respect is what we bleed for. This the shit the niggas bleed for. Life is up and down like the seesaw. Worth the have was a have not. Found a way to have. See, I had mad spots, chilling in the crib, laying low, calling padlock.
Death investigation is underway in a Franklin neighborhood after first responders found 2 people shot and killed inside of a home. Now, this happened just before 6 o'clock last night at a home near Drake Lane and Mission Hills Drive in Franklin. Police say a 66-year-old woman and a 65-year-old man were found dead inside from apparent gunshot wounds. Police have not identified the victims.
That's white-on-white crime out there in Franklin. When that story comes out, like what I'm saying, when everything gets all the details get situated, that's to be white-on-white crime. That's what I'm saying. A lot of times there'll be a lot of DV going on in these suburban homes and these rural homes and stuff. But a lot of times, like I was saying that a few days ago on the podcast, a lot of times those don't even get documented. They don't get called in or whatever. Or if there is a call for service, you know what I mean? Mom and dad are arguing. Dad's throwing mom around or whatever. police come over there. A lot of times, people don't go to jail. Or I bet there's even instances, and I bet I could probably find that too, more than a few cases. For an example, of situations where cops got called to a house for a domestic violence situation or whatever, and that they ended up knowing the people. They ended up knowing, you know, the man and the woman or whatever, maybe acquaintances, maybe they're a cop, maybe they're a cop friend of his friends. You know what I mean? A lot of times there'll be some kind of connection, especially if it's a smaller town, like in the suburbs, where they only maybe have, you know, 60, 70,000 people, you know, 20,000 people in these towns. Like, a lot of them will be knowing each other. You know what I mean? Or there'll be some kind of connection like that 6 degrees of separation bullshit or whatever. So sometimes, because I even looked up the Waukesha. This was months ago. I looked up the Waukesha jail, their jail division, and I was looking to see, like, who was in there for what, right? And they didn't have, because I was trying to see, like, what the most crimes were committed in that community and all that kind of stuff. And I couldn't find a section for domestic violence. It, like, literally wasn't even listed. They had all the other crimes, you know, homicide, rape, you know, burglary, forgery, robbery. They had, you know, all those, but not a domestic violence category. And I just thought that was off. I'm like, what? So is that because maybe some of their officers get mixed up in that stuff? Maybe they, you know, and they just don't say anything or whatever. And you add on to the fact of that there's a decent amount. I didn't say a lot. I didn't say the majority. Nothing. I said a decent amount of cops that are either alcoholics or borderline alcoholics. Just based off the job is stressful. No matter how you feel about cops, it is a stressful ass job. And I know just from just kind of being on the sidelines. My mother was a cop for 25 years, you know what I mean, and here in Milwaukee. So I've kind of been around that world a little bit, so I know how the stress can be. I remember my mom used to work like third shift and all that kind of stuff. She used to work some weird hours. And that's crazy to think, because we were just young kids back then, like when she first started. But now, like if my mom was a cop now and I was like an adult, like, oh man, I'd be stressed out worrying about that. Because just how, yeah, it's crazy out here. All right, y'all, let's get back to this episode. That's what they're doing, y'all. Just took Charlie outside. So they got a ladder, the maintenance people. Looks like they're fixing something. They got the ladder out and shit like that. Remember we told y'all the roof was leaking and shit when we came home? So they're fixing it, but I hear a lot of talking and not working. Y'all heard that? A lot of gibbering and jabbering and not working. You know what I mean? But the rent went up. The rent went up, but the work went down. Right? Y'all heard them. That's why I just played that, because I was coming in. They're around, and they were around the other hallway, about a good 30 feet away from where I was. They were just in the hallway, just talking and kicking it, and not working. The ladder was sitting there, but I didn't see them by it working. Y'all can kick it and talk and work at the same time. You know what I mean? But the rent went up. All right, y'all. I'm about to go pick Michelle up now, and we'll get back to this episode. You know what I was thinking about, y'all? So like I'm in a interracial relationship, right? And I'm mixed as well, right? I'm black and Mexican, right? And I was thinking about it, right? Because, well, first of all, I was thinking about like what all races of women that I've dated or whatever. And then I was thinking to myself, okay, like, well, I've never dated an Asian woman, right? Not because I didn't want to or because I have anything against them or anything like that. It just never happened. You know what I mean? And that's, my point is, it's just like, I feel like date who you love. Date who you love. Marry who you love if that's your thing. Be with who you want to be with. You know what I mean? Because I would say this. For people that are against interracial dating, and I'm for it. I'm for it. I think it's fine. You know what I mean? I think, you know, different cultures get to know more about each other. You know what I mean? And keep in mind, if you're dating somebody white and you happen to have a child with them, hey, we got some more black and or brown skin in this world, which is always a great thing. But my point is, too, I guess to go around the block to get next door, I guess what I'm saying is that if you're somebody that is against interracial dating, then my next question would be to you, okay, so if you were someone, if we're having a conversation, right, whether you're a man or a woman, and you tell me that you are against interracial dating, just no matter what the two type of people are that are dating, right, doesn't matter, Asian and black, white and black, Latino and black, Asian and Latino, whatever, right? So if you're somebody that is against interracial dating, right, and you told me that, my next question to you would be, are you employed? Are you employed? And if you said yes, I would ask you, do you work full time? Do you work, you know, you're working like 5 days a week, right? That's most considered a full-time job as long as you're getting the hours in there or whatever, right? So you're working a full-time job, right? Now, and this goes specifically, this part of it is specifically for black and brown people, black and or brown people. So if you're against interracial dating, and then I ask you after that if you're employed, and you say yes, and then I ask you, do you work full time? And if you're like yes, then I would ask you, my next question would be, is your employer white? The person that hired you, you know, your supervisor, the owner of the company who writes a check, who whatever, are they white? If I ask 10 black people that question, right, whether they're a man or a woman, 8 times out of the 10, they would say yes, they work for somebody white. Whether it's a man or a woman, no matter what the company is, no matter what type of job it is, how good or low or whatever, right? It's how you make the donuts or bring the bacon or whatever it is, right? So that's a relationship, ain't it? Because it fits all the criteria, right? Because I would have asked this individual, and you said, not you, but this person said, yeah, they work full time. So that means you're going in and out of this place, wherever it is, wherever you work, to your white boss that signs your check, that tells you what to do every day, gives you your assignments, tells you when you can come and go and leave and take your lunch break and all that stuff, right? Has the ability to fire you, and now you throw on top of it all the stuff that's going on here, all the getting rid of the DEI and all that kind of stuff. Now, a white employer can just say, get out of here, blackie. Get out of here, tar baby. Get out of here. If you're someone mixed, remember they used to call us zebras back in the day? If you were black and white, well, I'm not black and white, but if you were somebody that was black and white, they would call one of the like negative terms would be they would call you a zebra and shit, or like one of the disrespectful terms that white people used to say to black people, they would call us tar baby, or you know Oreo. If you were black and white, that was one of the disrespectful terms towards somebody that was black and white. They would call them an Oreo. Now I know I'm going off a little different, but now I'm hearing in today's terminology, I'm hearing people say, like, when they refer to somebody as an Oreo, they're referring to them as acting white or whatever. Nah, that might just be some new shit they made up, but Oreo has meant, that term is a negative term when you're addressing somebody that's black and white. That's what that means. That's where that came from. I don't know. They may have switched it up now and made it mean something new or whatever, but that's what I always knew Oreo was. But my thing is, getting back to that though, so if they were say, yeah, they work full time, they go 5 days at least, so then, like, you're not in a romantic relationship with your employer, but it's a relationship, ain't it? Ain't that a relationship? You communicate with them probably at some point every day. Like I said, you got to ask them when you can leave, go out, leave and shit, go home, take a break. You got to check in with them, make sure what your stuff is, whatever your tasks are, or whatever your job title is, you know what I'm saying? They got the ability to tell you, hey, you go do this. I need you to go do that. You know what I mean? And you can, but if you want to keep your job and your livelihood and all that and shit and, put food on the table and put gas in your car and all that and send your kids to school and just do all the things that people need to do to survive, I bet you ain't going to tell them to fuck off, your white boss, or tell them to kiss your ass if they tell you to go do something or tell you that they need you to stay a few extra hours because so-and-so didn't show up and they need you to be there to work. Or when they're calling you on your day off and they're calling you and telling you to come in and shit. Well, today's my day off. I don't care. You got to come in. It's mandatory. I bet you ain't going to tell them, nah, fuck that. I ain't coming in. I mean, like I'm saying, you could, but that's a choice. It probably wouldn't end well, right? So that's a relationship. Like I said, it's not a romantic relationship and all that, but it's a relationship, right? You're working with this person 5 days a week. They're paying you. You know what I'm saying? And you're dealing with that, right? You're dealing with that. So if someone checks all those boxes or answers yes to all those questions I would ask them, then my next thing would be, well, then how are you against interracial dating then? Because then I would tell them, well, then you need to quit your job then. You need to quit your job because you're working for somebody white. They're paying you. They're giving you your livelihood. You're saying yes, sir, no, sir to them pretty much every day in uncertain terms. You know what I mean? Because you go in there every day, you work, you go home. This is like every day, right? That's your thing. And I'd be willing to bet 7 out of 10 black people probably don't like their white employers. Or they think things could be run differently, or it could be the way you get treated around there. As a black person, you might be somebody black. There might be only 2 or 3 of you there, and the rest of the 15, 16 employees are white. Like the place I work at is mostly white people, and they're kind of older too. I say the age range of where I work at is between like 30 and 60. Now I'm the only, but no, there's one other black person there. But I never even see her. All the managers, the supervisors, all that, they're white people. I don't even have conversations because the majority, there's like 16 people is last time I checked at where I work at. Like I'm saying, at a time pretty much that I'm there with that are around, it's usually 15 to 16 people. And I'm the only black person. There's a couple Latin people that they hire, just like as temp people and shit like that or whatever. Everyone else is white, whether it's a man or a woman. My managers are both white. They're ladies, but they're both white. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not going to, tell people where I work at and all that, but got to have some kind of privacy around here. But you know what I'm saying? So, like as a black and brown person, you're dealing with that. If you have a white employer, you're and a lot of times in situations are like that where, you go into work, you do all the shit, but you pretty much feel uncomfortable. Either uncomfortable or just, you feel like you feel like you're only like maybe 75 to 80% of who you are as an individual when you go to work there every day.
You know, before and after, you're 100%. Just feeling comfortable, just whatever. But then once you go in there, it turns down to about 75 to 80%. Right? So should you not work for a white employer? If you're, you're the person that's saying that you're against interracial dating. So that means you don't think white and black, black and Latin, black and Asian, white and Asian, whatever. You don't think that those people should be a couple and build a life together. So then why are you going to work for a white employer every day? Why are you driving your ass to and from a white employer's job every day? That's a relationship. You shouldn't work there. Because someone that you're basically saying you shouldn't be in a relationship with a white person. And I'm using white people for the majority of this this argument or whatever you want to call it, because most people's employers are white. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I said most. I didn't say all, because there's somebody listening right now. They're like, my employer ain't white. My employer is black. Or it might be somebody listening that said, I don't work for nobody. I'm my own boss. Well, that's great. That's great. That's great. That's what's up. So then this don't apply to you. And that goes back to what I said. I didn't say all. I said most. Or the majority. Even if you want to make that 51%, y'all know how I say majority is at least 51%. You can make it on the lower scale or the higher scale. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I mean, it might not be the greatest comparison, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Because then if one will say, oh, well, that's a petty comparison or that's a petty argument. Well, it's a petty argument for you to tell somebody who they should love and who they should be with. And a lot of times, people that are against interracial dating haven't been in one, or they just haven't experienced just a wide variety of people just in general. Like, put away the romantic part of it. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, my journey, like, I never dated a white woman until I got to high school. My whole school experience... Hold on. My whole school experience, right? I grew up in Milwaukee. I went to Milwaukee Public Schools, Hawthorne Elementary, Browning, John Muir. And then for high school, I went to Nicolay. That's because that's where my brother went. I followed him wherever he went, pretty much. He went to Hawthorne. He went to Browning. He went to Muir. I went to Muir. You know, I went to Browning. I went to Hawthorne. Then I went to Nicolay. We wanted to go to Washington. That was our neighborhood school. You know what I'm saying? But we ended up going to Nicolay. And the other thing with that, too, was, like, my whole experience just with just the introductory to, like, tons of white people. Like, I ain't saying I ain't never been around white people before high school. I'm saying it just wasn't a lot. Like, of course, I had white school teachers. Of course, we had white kids at our school. But the majority of the kids were black. My friends were blacks. The girls that I was interested were black. My best friend was black. One of my other good friends was a Latin. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to be saying a Latin or a white or a black. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it goes, y'all. We'll say the whites. We'll say the blacks. We'll say the Latins. We'll say the Asians. Don't be taking offense to it. There's been tons of times where I'll listen to a Paul Mooney clip where he's talking about black people. He's talking about Mexicans and stuff like that. And I'll sit there and laugh at it because it's funny. It's funny. And I know his heart's in the right place, so I know where he's coming from. You know what I'm saying? Or when he's making fun of, like, what he calls Puerto Ricans. You know, we talk about that all the time. You got somebody that's Puerto Rican and white, but they act more white than they act Puerto Rican. That's fake. I call that fake. I call that acting white. Another example of acting white is when you hear somebody Mexican tell another Mexican to get back over the wall. How the hell are you going to tell someone else that's from the same bloodline as you? They may not, like, be your literally family member, but they got the same bloodline as you. and you're going to sit here and tell that other Mexican to get his ass back over the wall. Because what you're doing then, you might as well be white. You might as well be a white racist individual. You telling another Mexican to get his ass back over that wall. That's acting white. That's acting like a white racist, white supremacist individual. That's what that is. It's the same energy, no matter who it's coming from. And that's why it hurts so much, this presidential election cycle, when you have black and brown people supporting Trump. That shit was pissing me off. And to this day, I still don't understand it. And then you have those Trump supporters, the black and brown Trump supporters, basically, I burped. Basically telling us, the people that supported Harris, y'all are telling us to get over it. Oh, buckle up and all this. I heard that Tory Lowe, I don't even know why he's still on the air. I really don't. Like, dude would be better doing a podcast. Because he's not like, he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? And like everything that he does and fights for, which is good stuff. Like he does a lot of good stuff, community work for black people. You know what I mean? He helps find missing women and kids and all. Like he does good work. No one can dispute or deny what the work he does. But then to turn around, so the same individuals that does that, he turns around and votes for Trump, who doesn't care anything about anybody black or brown. But you supported him. That kind of stuff. And for me, like, it was just that didn't, because I'm still hearing people talking about, I'm still hearing, and it's like we said, y'all, it's the smaller amount still. It's still only like the 10 to 12% or whatever. But you still hear some of them black MAGAs and shit and brown MAGAs sitting there saying that just buckle up. The left lost, y'all lost, just buckle up, just get over it and all that. You know, Trump and them won. That's just how it is. They're going to do what they're going to do. Just blowing us off, just blowing off our concerns. It's like, oh, well, fuck y'all. Deal with it. No, I'm not getting over that stuff. What you mean get over it? I'm not getting over that. Because y'all helped screw us over. And like I said, it's the smaller amount still, but still, it felt more. It felt like it was more of our people doing that shit. You know, and then you got people like Snoop and shit like that, man. Fuck Snoop Dogg, man. And the reason I say that, man, is because I was upset about that, man. You almost feel stabbed in the back. You know what I mean? Because, like, your whole life, or, like, you know what I'm saying, you see a person the same way. And not only do you see them in that way, they're speaking your language in a way. You know what I mean? They're talking about black issues, speaking up for black people. You know, the music is resonating with you. You know what I'm saying? You know, just all the stuff Snoop was doing, like, before all this Trump bullshit. You're like, yeah, Snoop's one of the real ones. I don't think any of us in the black and brown community, because there's a lot of Latin people that like Snoop Dogg, too, before he turned coat or heel. In the wrestling world, ain't it called turning heel and shit? When you turn into a bad guy, that's what Snoop did. He turned into a heel. But you know what I mean? Before all that, and even like during the election, he was speaking up for Kamala, saying all like, you know, which one of you blacks are going to get out here and shuck and jive and bootlick and do all that shit for Trump. And he was saying he was going to roast the first person that did it and all that and this and this and that. And look who it was. Look who it was. Snoop Dogg. And then this would be the part that'll be killing me. And then expect the 85 to 90% of us that supported Harris not to roll up on you and be like, dog, what are you doing, man? What the fuck is this? Sorry, I'm cussing. Ma, if you're listening. Sorry, but you know, like with stuff like that just gets me emotional, you know what I mean? And sometimes the cuss words are just like explanation points or periods, you know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of us feel like we had the wool pulled over our eyes. You know what I mean? That'd almost be like a close family member of yours. just at the bottom of the ninth, or you come to find out like the election's over and shit, and then you found out like one of your family members voted for Trump. Can you imagine how upset you would feel and how backstabbed you would feel? And I'm not saying Snoop's like a family member, you know what I mean? But I'm saying, but like Snoop, you know, we're around the same age, I think. Maybe Snoop might be a few years older than me, maybe, or whatever, but like we're around the same age. So I remember all the Snoop shit. Doggy Style album, Deep Cover. Y'all remember when he came out with Deep Cover? That was the first song he came out on where everyone was like, damn, dude, snapping, man. Dude can rhyme. Like, who is that? We're like, that's Snoop Dogg. I still remember watching the Deep Cover video. All the court cases and all that shit he went through. And just, you know, how they were trying to just label dude like he was just a piece of shit. And then he kind of turned his moniker around and like people started loving him and shit. You know what I'm saying? He was just doing all these things, and then he ventured off into like the Martha Stewart world, started kicking it with her. And then a lot of people were like, you know, they're like, damn, Martha and Snoop, cool, you know what I mean? And then he started like doing like, y'all remember when he was doing like the little broadcasts and stuff, calling like the little like boxing matches, I think, and he was doing some of that stuff. We're like, damn, man, Snoop's a Renaissance man. He's doing all kinds of shit. But you just like, you know, you just never had to worry about Snoop. You're just, oh, that's Snoop. There's no way dude's gonna, you know, end up being a Trump supporter. Like, if y'all would have told me that, if somebody would have told me, yo, DVJ, you know, after the election is over with, you know Snoop's gonna end up becoming a Trump supporter. You know that, right? I would have been like, man, get out of here, man. That's some bullshit. There ain't no way. I don't believe that. There's no way I'm believing that. You wouldn't even, you couldn't have told me that. I would have been like, get the F out of here. There's no way. That's bullshit. Snoop's one of the real ones. He's down. Come to find out, dude's a clown. He's a clown. And then y'all see them dumbass commercials they come out with, him and Tom Brady after the election, all talking that, oh, you want to hate me because I'm a different color. Oh, you, because I look different, all that. Man, that's bullshit, Snoop Dogg. Why weren't you doing that before the election? Why weren't you doing that before the election? It would have made more sense. It would have hit a little better. You can't come out and do that shit after the election. You know what that is, though? I'm real sharp. I'm a real sharp dude, right? Very perceptive. You know how that is? That commercial they came out with, that's Snoop basically trying to apologize to the black community because he knows he fucked it. He knows he did. He won't come out and admit that to us. But like I said, when he's sitting there and it's just him, because you can't lie to yourself. You cannot lie to your own brain. It don't work like that. He knows he messed up. That's what that commercial is. You should have been saying all that before the election. You should have been saying that to the MAGAs. That's who needed to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Because you're basically saying what Harris supporters are saying. We want everyone to be included. We don't want to hate on people because they're this or they're that or they sound different or they look different or whatever. You can't come out afterwards after you've been fucking with Trump and then come out and try to say that. It don't hit. It don't make no sense. It literally don't make sense. You should have been doing all that before the election because then it would have been more genuine. Ain't nobody dumb. Ain't nobody dumb, man. But yeah, but going back to what I was saying, though, you know what I mean? So if you're someone that's against interracial dating, then you should quit your white job. And when I say your white job, I'm saying because your employer's probably white. So you're in a relationship with that person. They're providing you everything you have. They basically got you that car you got. They basically got you that house or that apartment you got. They basically got you them groceries that you got up in your cupboard. You know what I mean? So if you're telling other people they shouldn't be around, if you're telling other people that they shouldn't be around white people or anything like that, then you should quit your job that your white employer gave you. Right? If we're staying away from everything white. Right? Does that make sense or no? It may not be the greatest comparison, but it's a pretty solid comparison. I'm just saying. And like I said, and if someone were to try to call that argument petty, well, then I would just turn back around and say that you're being petty for trying to tell somebody who they should and shouldn't love. Because that's the thing, too, like with that election, that's the other thing that was like kind of bothering me, not kind of, it was bothering me, is you had people like literally getting up off their ass and going to vote based off stuff like the border. You know, people here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that border ain't affecting you. That border is thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands miles away. That border ain't affecting you. You don't care about no Latino being here. I bet you go to stop at food trucks and go to the Mexican restaurant and use their services, their lawn care services, their roofing services and all that shit. Are y'all asking them when you go to your favorite, like when y'all go to Conejitos or Guadalajara or wherever else, or when you go to, what's that one called out? They got that thing out. What's it, either Franklin or Oak Creek, that tacos and tequila shit that they got? Are you asking the Mexican performers, or are you asking the other Latin people or the food truck vendors there when you go get food? Because there'll be mostly white people at that tacos for tequila shit. Are you asking people for their green cards before you order tacos or burritos or the chimichangas or whatever you're getting? Are you asking them for their green card, their paperwork and shit? Nah, I know you ain't, because you don't care, because it ain't an issue. Race was the issue, because when those topics got brought up, people made it about race. Border, brown and black versus white. Okay, if you're on the white side, the majority of them are going to vote for Trump. And if you're black and brown, the majority are going to vote for Harris. You see how they just split the lines? That's what I was saying. This race was about race. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care. I got sick of hearing that, oh, well, what did Kamala do wrong? She didn't do shit wrong. People screwed her over because they couldn't get over themselves. And the other thing, too, that bullshit ass make America great bullshit. You know what that really means? They were mad. A lot of them white people, they were still mad because Obama was president for 8 years. And they were salty about that. And now, you know, they call themselves getting their country back and shit. That's what that is. Why do you think Trump wants to be able to run a third time? Had the nerve to ask Barack Obama for his birth certificate. I would have never showed dude my birth certificate, man. Fuck you, Orange man. Showing you nothing. Kiss my ass. But you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to end this, but just saying. So if you're someone that's against interracial dating, then you should quit your job that you have, which is probably a white boss that employed you. You know what I mean? Because you've entered in a relationship with that person. You've been working at your place, wherever you work at, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years. When you're sitting here, don't like white people, or you don't think people should date other people and all that, well, then what you working at the white job for? Around mostly white people. Quit your job. If you don't want to have nothing to do with anything white, then quit your white job. Become your own boss. If you're that dead set on it. You see what I'm saying? I think that's a great comparison. Love who you love, man. You can't like, because that's the thing, like, oh, what I was saying about the high school experience. I didn't experience white women until high school. All the women I dated were black. They were in my neighborhood. You know what I mean? Browning and Mir. Browning, what was that, 4th through 6th grade? I had 2 girlfriends there. They were both black. My girlfriend at John Muir for 7th and 8th grade, she was black. The girls that I dated in my neighborhood, like when we moved over on Sherman and Hour, like we were over there from like 82 to like, when did we move? 91. So we were over there for, what's that, about 11 years or some shit like that? Whatever that is, something 9, 10, 11 years. Yeah. It was all black women. But it wasn't like, and even with that, it wasn't in my mind like, okay, because there were white girls in our neighborhood. There weren't a ton of them. There were white people in our neighborhood. But it wasn't a thing in my mind. Even at that point, it wasn't like, okay, I'm just going to continue to date black women. Only date black women. Don't date a white girl. Don't date an Asian. Like, none of that was in my mind. Like, if I was attracted to her, I was attracted to her. And that was just it, and I went with it. And if it worked out, it didn't, or whatever. She's interested, she wasn't, whatever. But I didn't have, like, this thing like, oh, there's a white girl. She's cute. She's cool. I can't mess with her, though, because I'm only going to mess with black women. Or, you know what I'm like? That shit, to me, that sounds petty and just immature and just, just that way of thinking in general is just like, you know. But you see what I mean? Like, so my first experience, like, I didn't have my first, like, my sons have black and white. Well, he's black, white, you know, Mexican, Honduras, because I have some Honduran in me as well. So, you know, he's white from his mother's side, and then black, Mexican, and Honduran on my side. You know what I'm saying? But she was the first white woman that I was in like a real relationship with. Before that, I had messed with a couple white women, you know, like that, but that's it. And I dated some white women after that and stuff like that during high school and shit like that, of course. But that was, and I don't know. It was just like maybe they were a new experience for me or whatever. Like even when I like started in high school, I wasn't going in like I was more worried about like just the environment, just because I had never been around that many white people. And I know it was mostly all white school and shit. You know what I mean? So, but my anxieties were like, damn, you're just starting a whole new thing, new people, just in general. It wasn't even about the color of the people. You know, I had anxieties about, you know, wanting to make the basketball team because my brother went there and he played and just shit like that, making friends and all that kind of. I didn't have race on my mind. And maybe before that, I didn't really think about it that much either because I didn't deal with a ton of racism before that. Because like I said, I hadn't been around white people that much until I got to MICHELLE. And then that's when I did start experiencing like the true racism bullshit. Because I remember one of our best buddies, he was a white dude. Shout out Irving. You know, we were all black, but then we had one white friend. You know what I mean? And some of his white counterparts didn't like that all his friends were black. One of the first racial experiences or racism that I experienced, not like super directly, but it was directed at us as well. But I remember Irv, the white dude I was telling you about, our best friend, he found a note in his bag. Some white dudes had slipped a note in his book bag telling him that he's hanging out with black people and all that shit and blah, blah, blah and all that. You know, calling him a wigger and stuff. They used to call white people that hung around black people or listened to black music, they used to call them wiggers and shit. Whether they deserved it or not. Because you used to have some white people that like literally tried to act black. I don't like that. Don't try to act black. It's one thing if you're immersed in black culture, you might be somebody white that grew up in the hood. All your friends are black. You know what I'm saying? So it's just natural. But when you're trying your best to act black, be black, immerse yourself like that, you know what I'm saying? Because we're going to notice that. But if it's natural, it's all good. Just don't be saying the N-word, though. I don't care how cool and tight and you know what I'm saying, you think y'all were black people, just don't use that N-word because that's not a smart thing to do. Don't do that, y'all. Don't get that comfortable. But my point is, you know what I'm saying? So, like, and it was a little different for me, too, because, like I said, I went to MPS schools until I went to high school. A lot of the black kids that even if they grew up in the city and they went to them suburb schools, they were going to them suburb schools with these white kids their whole school career. They went to kindergarten with them. They went to elementary school with them. They went to, middle school with them, Mapledale and all that shit, and Indian Hills and Glen Hills and all that shit. I didn't. I went to Milwaukee public schools for kindergarten, for elementary, for middle school and all that. So my first true experience was when I started ninth grade, because a lot of, like I said, because there were even black kids on my bus. You know what I'm saying? That lived in the city. They live right around us to this day. We're good friends. Shout out Eric. Shout out Brian. I ain't going to say their last names and stuff like that. But they used to come to the crib. We used to play the RBI baseball, Sega Genesis, all that stuff or whatever. But like even a lot of them, oh, shout out Warren too. Even a lot of them kids, they still went to them suburb schools, like I said, for elementary and middle school and stuff like that. So when they started high school, they excuse me, they already knew all them kids and stuff already. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? That was my first true experience going out there. So it was just like, man, it was culture shock for real. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, my kid's mother's the first white woman that I actually because we were together for about 7 years. And the only other white women that I'm just, messing around, like that kind of stuff, obviously. But, you know what I mean? So I had to deal with that and shit. But one good thing that helped, for my brother too, because like I said, he was in the same boat I was. We grew up in the city, went to Milwaukee public schools, and then we went to high school. So a lot of these white kids, they would see us and be like, who are they? Who are those blacks? Because they would recognize all the other black kids, or the majority of them, that were getting bussed out on the 220 program that lived in the city, but still were going to them suburb schools for grade school and middle school and shit. Me and my brother weren't doing that. We went to MPS. So we were like, you know what I mean? They're like, ooh. And then we played sports and stuff too. So, that stuff helped out make the transition a little easier. You know what I mean? And we started, you get invited to the little parties and all that kind of shit, and you do all that, and you get to meeting people and stuff. But that was my white experience. So ninth grade was my first true experience with white people on a regular basis, where I'm just seeing them just all the time. But even to this day, I would not consider myself, and I know by some of the banter and some of the things I say and stuff like that, I think it's safe to say that some people probably would call me a racist towards white people. No, I'm not racist. For one thing, that's not even realistically possible. I can say racial comments to a white person or say something about them or their behavior or whatever. But I can't really do anything that's going to affect their life. I'm in no position to take their job from them, fire them, make their life hell, not give them that bank loan, not give them that mortgage, not give them that credit, you know what I'm saying? All that shit, not give them that job. I don't have the ability to do that. Now, one might sit there and say, oh, well, there's black people, black employers that own places that have white employees and they fire them. Of course there are. There's always an example you can find. I'm saying the majority of the situations, though. That's the thing, a black person, I can cuss a white person out, all that shit, embarrass them, make them, or whatever, but that's it. I can't do anything to really stop their livelihood. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if you reverse it, they can. They can fire me. They can, you know what I'm saying? They can make my life hell. My PO, she can lock me up. You know what I'm saying? My employer can fire me if they want to now. Get out of here, blackie. And what am I going to do about it? If I snap out, I'll go to jail. See, that's what I'm saying. We're not in control of shit. We ain't in control of nothing. Only our behaviors and the things that we do and say. That's what I always used to say, in prison too. They may have your physical body locked up, but what you do have control of when you're in a joint is the things you do and say. You can control your personal behavior. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so sorry to get on a long rant about that. But yeah, let's get some music going again. But you see what I'm saying? If you're someone that's saying you're just all about nobody being around white people and not being in a relationship, then stop working for your white employer, because that's a form of a relationship. Like I said, you ain't sleeping with the person, but it's a relationship. All right, y'all. The work day went pretty decently, y'all. I'm home. About to eat something. I'm about to take Charlie outside for his afternoon walk, see if he's got a poop or pee. And then I'm going to go pick Michelle up in about 45, 50 minutes. All right, y'all. Enjoy this music. This is Mary Lou Williams. It Ain't Necessarily So. Yeah, that's the name of it. It's a 4-minute and 45-second song. I'm going to play about another 30, 40 seconds of it, y'all. Jazz music ain't never hurt nobody. It might relax you. All right, y'all, let's get back to this episode.
Get the missing when it's pistol, get the blicking, get your range on the ignition, nigga, listen. Play your position, drug dealer, musician. Now myself through, let's call this fruition. School of hard knocks, yeah, I paid my tuition. If I made my decision that somebody gotta go, then you order Dr. Boat. You can find them when they fishing. The ghosts and them harder than Iron Man and Vision. All the Avengers.